Hi there, welcome to the latest edition of Red Army TV. Here in the Red Army Radio studios, got two fantastic guests for this evening. I've got Caroline Walker from the Middlesbrough Fans Forum.
Great
Caroline,
to be here again.
Brilliant, it's brilliant to have you. And the Red Army legend that is Mr. Dave Roberts. Good evening.
Legend only in my own living room, mate, to tell you.
Look, we've got loads to talk about. Last Friday night, I don't want to say debacle, Caroline.
No, because that's been a little bit kind, to be perfectly frank.
Yeah, 2-1 away at the old, let me get this right, the St Andrews Trillion Trophy Stadium.
St Andrews.
It's St Andrews.
It is St Andrews.
It is St
Horrible
Andrews.
place.
2-1 defeat, but are currently 20th in the league with only 10 points. Caroline, what were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was dreadful. Absolutely dreadful game. I think I went into it thinking, we've turned the corner against Preston. We can only go up now. Preston were a really, really good team. They've been on such a great run. And to actually get a point against Preston was brilliant. And then to go to St Andrews and capitulate totally and utterly. It wasn't the fact that they lost, it was the way they lost.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
White flag was flying from the start.
There was no heart, no pace, no technical nothing, basically.
Well, Dave, I think Caroline summed it up absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I'll go home now.
But look, the Birmingham dominated in the massive spells of the game. I know we had a little bit, but
We let them.
did you expect that?
No. I thought like Caroline, we'd made progress. Excuse me. Sheffield Wednesday, we know what that was like. Let's gloss over that one. Preston, there was an improvement. Wasn't a great game, and it says something when you think taking a point from Preston at home is a good result, but it just sums up where we were. And then to see us nosedive head first down into such an abject performance. I can't even say it was an abject performance because it wasn't a performance. There was no performance there whatsoever.
Apart from the goalkeeper.
Birmingham went into that game 3 defeats on the belt. Right, bang, 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 loss. They were bereft of confidence. Within 5 minutes, they looked at us and thought, "Hey, we've got a game here. We can do something decent."
Well, look,
that's how bad we were from the start.
You're absolutely bang on right, because their manager was under the cosh a little bit going into that game, and he must have thought, well, look, international break coming up. If I can get 3 points against the Borough, it might save his job.
Yeah.
But look, Caroline, I know what you're going to say, but did any Borough players stand out for you in that performance?
Positively or negatively?
Positively. Let's start with positively.
Well, obviously Darren Randolph,
Yeah.
because without him it would have been a humiliating scoreline as well as a humiliating performance. Anybody else? To be fair, no. I don't think anybody at all covered themselves in glory, and I think that was borne out by... For 2 games at least this season, I've seen players of ours get 2s and 3s in the national and the local press, and that's not right.
Yeah.
That's not right. You can have the odd game maybe where you're a 2, but 2 games within
Dave,
3,
would you
4?
agree with that? I mean, obviously Randolph made a few good saves, didn't he? But any other players outfield, stand out field?
You could go through them one by one and maybe pick out one thing in the game that they did. It's a 90-minute game. It's a match performance. It's not, one moment of half-decent display. Darren Randolph was the only player who came out of that who could hold his head up high. And I've been critical of Darren Randolph this season. I don't think he's been the same player. He's not performed at the same level as he did previous seasons. Yeah. But I take my hat off to him, and I'm a big Darren Randolph fan. I am. If it wasn't for him, it would have been even more embarrassing than it was.
Well, look, we're on Facebook Live, so look, get in touch. See, let us know what your thoughts are as well on the game. Don't forget, we're on Facebook Live. We're going out on Red Army Radio as well, and we're on Teesside TV. What channel was it again, Dave?
159.
159.
Virgin Media,
I think I made a bit of a slip up last week, didn't I? 159 on Virgin Media, and it's channel.
It's channel 7 on Freeview.
On Freeview. Got it right this time, Caroline.
Well done.
So, international break coming up. Mm-hmm. There's not much we can talk really on the Birmingham, because I think the majority of fans are bereft, aren't they, with that performance?
Absolutely.
Well, there is. I mean, there's the fallout, mate. I mean, how concerned are you now? That's a big question, because we ran a poll on Red Army Radio earlier in the week saying, are you still confident Woody's going to sort it? Or are you now worried, bearing in mind league position, performance, scorelines recently?
Now, that poll didn't look too good for Woody, did it?
No, it didn't. An awful lot of fans, 70%,
Yeah.
saying they're now worried.
Yeah. Now, I must admit, and I spoke to Caroline just before we came on air, I am not in the worried category yet. I'm not ready to pull the trigger, shall we say. But, Caroline, do you think Woody's trodden on thin ice at the minute?
No, I don't, to be perfectly honest. I don't. And I do honestly fail to see how people can say that after, 6-8 weeks of the season. If we're still in the same position, playing the same football week in, week out, come January, then I think we really do have to have a root and branch look at it. But I never expected anything from this season. I expected a little more than we've got. I expected mid-table mediocrity while some of the youngsters bedded in, while your bowlers and your Dyke Steels, your Tavs, while they just, get themselves into the team and work hopefully with the more senior professionals.
Well, we've been sold, haven't we, that this is a season of transition,
Yes.
Dave.
Yeah, and I accept it.
But we need to see getting better week in, week on, don't we? We need to see progress.
I said from the off, it's a season I'm happy to write off. Just exactly, Caroline's taking the words out of my mouth. Sit mid-table, not worry about relegation, not really get any false dawns about getting into the playoffs. Happy with that. But 20th place after a quarter of the season is now gone is concerning. Now, no, I don't expect any changes. Woody's not under any pressure from his position because Gibbo's very loyal to his managers, particularly young managers that he gives opportunities to. So that's not going to change. But it doesn't stop me from now starting to become concerned. And I'm like that 70% in the poll. I'm concerned because I'm not seeing progress, or if I do, we immediately then go and undo absolutely everything that we've
2 steps back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's concerning.
Well, we've had a few comments in on the old social media. George Boland, George, thanks for watching. He's put, was it a mistake letting Pulis go? A bad decision to let him go, maybe. He may have set up defensively, and his style of football may not have been liked, but was it a mistake to let him go, Caroline?
No, I think he'd run his course, to be perfectly honest. I expect this season to be much better than it is so far, but I absolutely and utterly hated last season.
Yeah.
Hated going. I mean, there was just no joy in going to the Riverside at all.
And remember, as Borough fans, and I remember obviously last season on Red Army TV, we wanted exciting football. We and again, not just Tony Pulis. Over around about 8 to 10 years, the Borough have had negative styles of football. Not just Tony Pulis, but we asked for it, Dave, didn't we? We wanted exciting football. Woody came out and said all the right things. He's in glimpses. I can see what he's trying to do. It's the personnel, isn't it?
No, it's not the personnel, because Tony Pulis managed to get a promotion champion, a promotion playoff chasing side out of the personnel. But I didn't expect that from Woody simply because of his inexperience. He's learning his job while he's standing there on a Saturday afternoon screaming out his instructions.
Can you do it in a quarter of a season?
No, you
do
can't.
You need longer?
No, you can't. But you don't expect to see a team that has the personnel, maybe not for automatic promotion, but to certainly be up there in the promotion playoff places, to be down in 20th spot.
I agree. Yeah.
I kept describing it as little green shoots of development, of progress. That's what I wanted to see. I don't see them. And the longer we go on, the more concerned I'll get. But the one thing you can guarantee is he's going to have plenty of time. Give him plenty of time. Don't you worry.
Yeah, again, I don't want to see another homegrown talented player and another homegrown manager throw under the bus.
No, absolutely.
It tends to be that our managers, when they come from, we can only look back at Tony Mowbray. Southgate, to a certain extent, he played for us, but he's not from the area. Mowbray was thrown under the bus a little bit, and I know Pulis said that he was there to sort the books out and things like that. Woodgate hasn't had much money to spend. Do we think in January, if it's not going right, some money could be thrown at it, Caroline?
I do think, actually, there might be a little bit of money in January.
I think little's the operative word.
I mean, little probably is the operative word. But there's perhaps the loans. There's a lot. And there's also quite a lot of players out there. It was just published in the press this week. There's also quite a lot of players out there out of contract who you could actually go for now.
Yeah, they could come in now.
And there's some names there. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there were some names there. I thought, my God, Ross McCormack.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying he could come in and do a job, but we were willing to pay umpteen millions for him not that long ago. He's there out of contract.
Yeah.
And there was quite a few others who have got Premier League status. I don't know, do you take a gamble on that? Even a pay-as-you-play, or it must be better for them. You know, they put themselves in the shop window for the second half of the season.
Well, you've heard what the guys have had to say in the studio. Join us after the break on Red Army TV, where we'll be having a look at some more social media. Join us after this short break. Welcome back to Red Army TV. I've got Dave and Caroline with me, both in the studio, chatting all things Borough. A couple of things. First of all, before I come back to you, Dave, because I want to just touch on Pulis again. Got a couple of things on social media. Paul Burke says, Randolph and Paddy McNair, the only players coming out with any credit recently. And also Sean Atkinson, nice to see you from you, Sean. How do we get on this show? I think my auntie, who's been going to watch the Borough for 50 years, would like to be a guest on here. Well, look.
Send me an email.
Yeah, send the legend is Mr. Dave Robertson an email. I'm sure he can get you sat in here chatting to me.
Dave at redarmy.tv. Simple as that.
Simple as that. And come and sit in the studio, speak to Yaff about all things Borough. Dave, come back to you.
Yeah.
I asked Caroline just before the break about Pulis. What are your thoughts? Did we let him go too early?
No, absolutely not. Like Caroline, I was sitting there. I remember sitting halfway through the season, and Luke, my 17-year-old son, who was 16 at the time, was he? And anyway, whatever. I just said to him, "Are you enjoying this, son?" And he went, "No." So we come every 2 weeks, and we sit. We give half a day up to sit through this, and we're not enjoying it. And he went, "Yeah, that sums it up." So that sums up, my level of enjoyment under Tony Pulis. We were a stronger team, without a shadow of a doubt. Tactically, he got out of this squad of players far more than Jonathan Woodgate's been getting out of them currently. But again, Woody, massively inexperienced. It was the experience of Pulis that got us there. But I did not like the football we were playing. It wasn't entertaining. It wasn't enjoyable. No, we didn't hang on to him.
So it leads me straight into Caroline. Guy called Nick Matthews. Nick, thanks for watching. He's been in touch. There's loads more joy. I think he's been facetious here. There's loads more joy at the Riverside this season, isn't there? Getting battered every week doesn't make sense. So how do we answer that, Caroline? Because what he's saying is, I've just asked you both about Pulis.
I'm not saying that there's much more joy this season at the moment, but I'm saying there wasn't any at all last season, and at least now we've got a new broom. I've still got some hope that Jonathan Woodgate will do eventually what he told us he was coming in to do. Yeah, he's experienced, he's learning on the job. The players, they've had that mentality. We talked earlier on before we came on air about Adam Clayton. It's been beaten into Adam Clayton that he is a defensive midfielder.
And not what he was bought for.
He doesn't get into the penalty box. It was beaten into Paddy McNair last season. But look what a player he is when he gets hold of the ball and he goes forward. He has been one of the bright spots and he gets in the penalty box. He's even scored.
Yeah. Well,
and he would never have scored a goal last season.
Funny enough,
sorry.
Paul Burke,
in fact, he wouldn't have played.
Paul Burke's been on and he said that basically Paddy McNair, Dave, and Randolph are the only two who's coming out with any credibility. So.
Yeah, I did think of McNair when you asked me the question earlier on. Possibly one player who came out with something, but
maybe
I
against
think
Birmingham, not so
much
I
against
think
Birmingham,
the level. I think the level he's set so far this season by far he's our best performing player, and he was below that level at Birmingham, which is probably why I didn't mention it. But don't you think that Woody started off bright at Luton, didn't he? He wanted to attack front foot of football. Let's take the game to teams, and then we saw it in the first 45 minutes against Brentford as well. But since then, do you think he's pulled the reins? He's just pulled it in a little bit because we are starting to concede a lot. We are starting to lose games.
I mean, I watched that Luton game and thought, this is going to be a roller coaster. This is going to be a cracker of a season. Yeah. And yes, we might have some 4-3s where we lose, or 3-3s, or but it's not going to be a dire 1-0. Unfortunately, as you say, it hasn't quite gone that way. And yes, he probably has reined it in, rightly or wrongly, I don't know. I mean, they sometimes say that attack's the best form of defence. Yeah. And if the other team, if the opposition are worrying about our full-backs bombing forward, then they're not bombing forward themselves.
I mean, I've spoke many times on this show and on Red Army Radio about the formation Woody uses, Dave. Now, Woody's come out and said he wants to play 4-3-3. Now, look, I know we're not at the grandeur of the Liverpools and your Man Cities who play 4-3-3, fantastically.
With great players.
With
It'd be
great
quite
players.
nice if we had Salah,
Of course it would.
Sané and Firmino up front.
There's one thing. I think we've seen it for 20 minutes against Luton, which was a proper 4-3-3, where the players were high tempo, high energy. What I'm trying to get at is, and this is only my opinion, I think it's probably the unfittest Borough side I've seen in the last 10 years. You cannot play that formation of football or that high tempo or that high up the field if you're dollying about. And look, Birmingham's a prime example. Preston, although we turned it around a little bit, we still weren't quick on the ball. So I don't think we're fit enough, Dave, to play that style of football. What's your opinions?
It's interesting. I hadn't thought about fitness, but I know you'd mentioned it. I look at it and I think, for us to play on the front foot, to play attacking football like Woody said we're going to play, we need to start from the off. And we need to keep that pressure going. And I have seen us try and start from the off on odd occasions. Most of the time, we sit back and we've adopted the purist start to a game now where we start slowly.
Yes.
Birmingham, a prime example. Give them confidence and then we make it difficult for ourselves. But in those games, those handful of games where we've started brightly, we haven't maintained it. We've dipped after about 35 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be.
So there might be a decent point in there.
90 minutes. Unless you can kill the game off early and then sit back a little bit and relax. But
we've had some great comments in on the social media. Anton Sedgman's, I think it will turn around. People are forgetting that it's a new ball game for Woody. I think he'll stick by his word and accomplish his goals. Michael Dumbrell's came in, top fan Michael Dumbrell. McNair, Johnson, Clayton, three of our better players. Is it because they are playing better or the standard has dropped?
I don't think Clayton's playing better.
No, I don't either.
I think he's having a woeful season. Johnson, still a bit part player, isn't he? He's coming in and then he's sitting a few out.
He's having a good game, then he's not. He's a bit up and down.
That was always his problem. He would come in, he'd have a good game, but then he could play three and you wouldn't see him, and he would be dragged off after 65 minutes.
McNair, I think, is...
McNair, stand out.
And I don't think that's the standard has dropped. I think he's now playing how he wants to play.
He's playing where he wants to play.
And he's one who has actually embraced it.
Yeah. Michael's been back in, actually. Time to realise this is where we are. The manager and young players will get better, mid-table, and move on.
That's exactly where my mind is at the moment. Yeah, me too.
With fingers crossed.
That's why I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping that's the case. But as I said earlier, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned now because I'm not seeing enough examples of where Woody's learning. He started using in his vocabulary after games, I hope the players. Does that tell you that he hasn't got a firm grip on the players? Shouldn't he be telling the players, this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to play it, this is what I fully expect from you? Not, I hope they're going to do it. He should be telling them they are doing it. Yeah,
well, hopefully that's what he is doing.
Yeah,
I mean most managers look after players.
Yeah.
I'm sure things what I said behind closed doors in changing rooms and not what he says in front of the TV cameras. But look, what I like about Woodgate is he talks like a fan. Yeah. You know, he wants the Borough to do well. He wants us to play well. Rome wasn't built in a day, Dave, was it?
No, it wasn't. And I like the way he talks as a fan. I just hope he gets the message across with heart and passion and cut me in half and I bleed Borough inside that dressing room because the players need to know. The players can perform better than they are. We've seen it with Pulis.
And I think
they're not, and it's Woody's job to get it out of them.
Yeah.
I think they have been quite honest as well with some of the things that the players have said. They know that they've not been good enough. And everything that's come out of that dressing room has been so positive about what Jonathan Woodgate's trying to do. They do seem as though they're trying to buy into it. Quite why it's not working at the moment, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we'd all love to be a fly on the dressing room and at the training ground. None of us really know.
Well, you only had to see Ayala. He looked after the game at Birmingham when he spoke. He was dejected. He was gutted. It wasn't just we've got beaten. I'll move on and pick my pay packet up.
They understood how bad they were.
It affected him. Nick Matthews been back on. Look, Nick. It's all about opinion. We love it. And basically, Nick's saying, so we had a manager who gave us the best defensive record in the league, Granted a lack of goals, but you always said we lack quality up front. We finished in the playoffs and then 7th despite the manager attempting to balance the books. Fans call for his head because they don't like him. We look at where we are now. Pulis overachieved. That's the bottom line.
I can't disagree that.
I suppose he's got a point, hasn't he,
He's
really?
got a point.
He has got a point. We didn't like it. We didn't like the football, but he certainly got the maximum out of this group of players. But I still look at it and shake my head because when Pulis was there and now Woodgate's there, we're playing the likes of Britta Sombolonga as a hold-up striker, and that's not his game. So does that say we haven't got enough depth in the squad to be able to play our players in their best positions, McNair excluded from that? Or does it say we still aren't learning lessons? Because he's not the striker to hold the ball up. No. He's a Bernie Slavin. He'll pick up scraps. He'll run at defenders. He'll get onto loose balls in and around the 18-yard box, and that's how he scores goals. So I'm still concerned more generally than just what Woody's doing.
Last one off the L social media. Mark Smith's been in. Mark, good that you're watching, mate. I agree 4-3-3 isn't working with the players we currently have. 4-2-3-1 might be the way to go. Clayton's struggling a little in the 3. His best season was with 2 in front of the back 4. Clayton alongside Paddy wing, Paddy and wing is probably the best for him. Coulson will be a plus coming back, and George is in a month will be a big bonus. I never ever thought I'd hear myself say George could be a bonus, but I think he could be, Dave, couldn't he?
He could be at the moment because we are struggling. We brought a couple of young fullbacks in, one on the left, one on the right, and we're not seeing the best out of them yet. So, George,
well, look, guys,
in,
I'm really sorry,
but
the time has killed us again. Thank you very much for coming in. Join us next week on Red Army TV.